Welcome to Vision Chat's spooky series, where we talk about ghost stories and legends. Listen at your own risk.
All right. Should we start with the update?
Yeah, you should update us on the sounds in the night.
The sounds in the night.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have not heard much. So it's been pretty quiet. So I haven't recorded anything because there really hasn't been anything going on. And maybe the trick was talking about it and now it stops. I don't know. But there really hasn't been anything going on. Sorry to say. Or not. I don't know. I kind of wanted proof, but at the same time, I like sleeping through the night. So, but we'll see. I'm still not convinced that it's totally done. So I'll let you know if anything happens. But yes, for anybody that was waiting to hear what else happened, nothing. Sorry. I was able to sleep.
That's good though.
Yeah, good for me.
To sleep. Yeah.
Well, do you want to go
So
first or? I say you go first, and then let's see. Hopefully, my internet gets better.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from a book that I found at the library that has ghost stories from around the area that I'm living in. So around Trondheim, for the people that is wondering. And one of the stories is from a house that is like a vacation house. There is this couple that comes from Oslo and they travel up here every summer to just relax, have vacation, take a break from the city life. There is this woman named Marit and then her husband Arne. So I'm gonna use their names. Yeah. So the first time Marit went into this house, she noticed a weird vibe in this place, very uncomfortable, and especially one of the living rooms. And in the rest of the house, the atmosphere was good and inviting. But both of them told others they felt this place was uncomfortable in a way, but couldn't really find what it was that was uncomfortable about this place. It didn't really happen that much to begin with when this couple was living there or spending their vacation there. And they had their dog with them and 3 children. And everything seemed to be normal, but Marit didn't really shake off the feeling that something was uncomfortable, and especially the bedroom that the couple was sleeping in. And one day, her husband, Arne, went on a fishing trip. So Marit, she stayed back in the house by herself with her dog. And her dog is very attached to her, and the dog was following her everywhere, in the house and in general. And she, this is a quote: "I was sitting down and enjoying a cup of tea while I was knitting, listened to the radio pretty late, and when I got tired, I got up from the chair and went to go to bed in the second floor. My dog was joining me as usual, and the dog ran in front of me up the stairs into the bedroom. But the dog stopped in the middle of the stairs and started showing teeth and growling towards the second floor. The dog blocking the way, so I wasn't able to go past her. And this I took as a signal that I should not go up there. Because you say, or here, you say animals can be very cautious of what humans doesn't really acknowledge or see. So I went back to the living room and I slept there. Marit told multiple times what she had experienced that night, and people were laughing about it, but the episode didn't really stuck to them, so they continued using the vacation house and coming up here for vacation. And then later on, when they used this vacation house, Marit tended to be there alone by herself for a few days. But it happened again a lot of time. Her dog did not want to go up the second floor. And then Mari took it as a sign, okay, then I just sleep in the living room. And this dog was usually very kind, very like calm, and the dog wasn't really that nervous or on edge. And the only one in the family that noticed that something was a bit off was the husband as well. One night, Marit decided to go up and go to bed, even though the dog did protest and give her like a warning. She was so tired. And also, her husband was sitting downstairs in the living room, so what could happen? She went up to the bedroom, closed the door behind her, and went to bed. Suddenly, she felt this ice cold wind or feeling in the room. And with the hit, the bedroom door burst open, and that caused like vacuum almost in the room with wind. And it was so powerful that the curtains in the window was like going outside into the bedroom. Like they were standing straight out. And the weird thing here, it was outside, there was no wind, and every windows and doors in the house was shut. Her husband heard the noise and screamed to her to like, what is going on, are you okay? And she was able to run outside from the room and down the stairs as fast as she could. And after this, she went from room to room and placed things back that she had redecorated before after she moved in, or like they got there. And then she got the question that, do you think something is haunting this place? After she told the story, and she answered, it is so much between heaven and earth, so who knows. The house was used as a shelter for Serbians that was on the run from Nazi people under the Second World War. Maybe that can be something there. And we know that the house is standing on a very old ground. That might be an option as well. Who knows?
And that
But
was
today,
in a house in Trondheim. Like
yeah, or around the area. There is a lot of, because it's a city, Trondheim is, but it is not very city-like. It is a lot of fields or mountains around, and a lot of cabins, and where you can go to fish and be in nature.
nice, very scary.
Yeah, oh my God.
If a door flew open like that in my house, I would probably run. I wouldn't
Yeah, me
bother walking.
too.
Like, what's going on? I'd be like, out of there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that will be traumatic. And
Yeah.
with the wind also like in the room, but there's like no wind outside, and the curtains is standing out. No, no.
Yeah. Hearing things is one thing. Having things, moving around or like doors opening,
Yeah,
that's
no.
different.
Yeah.
All right. Should I tell mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My story is I wanted to do something with Chicago, and there's a lot of different stories. Chicago's a big city, and there's a lot that's happened here. But there is one story that stood out to me that actually I wasn't familiar with, but apparently it's been around for a very long time. And for anybody that's from Chicago that might be listening, you've probably heard this one before. So this is about Resurrection Mary. And Resurrection Mary is a famous ghost story, famous Chicago ghost story. According to legend, there is a spirit of a young lady that can be seen walking down Archer Avenue in Chicago's South Side. So for hardcore Chicago people, this is south suburbs, not the actual city. It is out, it's like 30 minutes south of Chicago, but it is Archer Avenue is a very, very big, wide street, very long. And people just know that it's a big avenue. It's not a small street. So what people have reported is seeing a woman dressed in white. So usually she's seen wearing a white dress. She has high heels on. And she's just walking down this avenue, which is strange because I think most people don't walk down Archer Avenue. It's almost like, I don't want to say like a highway, but it's pretty busy. So you wouldn't really go for a stroll. What she does is sometimes she hitchhikes. So she wants a ride. Most of the time, it seems like she likes getting rides from men. Not always, but it's usually men. And what happens is that she's usually trying to get home, but what she says is, okay, start driving. And usually people like start driving down the street, and then she says, okay, stop, stop. And it's always in front of Resurrection Cemetery, and she'll disappear into the cemetery. So this ghost has been appearing since the 1930s and up until very recently, actually. And what they say has happened is that this actually was a real person. She was a 21-year-old woman named Mary Bregovy. She was young, liked to go out to dance and party. So, she, on one weekend, her and her friends decided to go dancing. This particular night, it was March 10th, 1934. She and her friends went dancing at a ballroom called O. Henry. And O. Henry ballroom is now called Willowbrook Ballroom, and it's still in existence. So if you want to go and rent out a haunted ballroom, there you go. It's open for business. And I saw some pictures online. It looks pretty nice. So anyways, they go to this dance. Dances would usually end early. So when this one ended, the girls were like, we don't want to go home. We want to keep partying. So what they decided to do was go downtown and continue to party there. So when they were done there, unfortunately, what happened was they had gotten in the car to start driving back home, and they got hit by a car. So there was an accident, and she's the only one that died. So the friend survived, she dies, and that was that. So what happened after that, a story came up by this man named Jerry Palace, and he was like other young people at that time wanting to go to a dance. So he went to this ballroom. Maybe it was the O. Henry, maybe it was the same one. I'm not sure, but it could have been. So he goes dancing. I think he's with his brother, and he sees a girl in the corner in the back of the ballroom who's just kind of like standing against the wall, and she's really quiet and she looks really shy. So he walks up to her and he says, hey, do you want to dance? And she's, I guess, nods her head. She's not talking. So he takes her out to the dance floor and they start dancing. And what he reports saying is that, she wasn't really talking much, but she seemed like a nice person and her hands were cold, but that's about it. At the end of the night, they had such a good time. He offers her a ride home and she agrees, and she gives him the address, which the address actually turns out to be on like a different street. It's something Damon Avenue. And he knows the area. So he's like, okay, no problem. I could take you there. But then she says, but you know what? I really want you to drive down Archer Avenue. Could we drive down? And he says, okay, but that's like nowhere near where you live. It's kind of the opposite direction. But he figures, sure, why not? They'll go for a ride. So he starts driving down Archer Avenue. And then again, not talking much, just driving. He's doing all the talking and she's maybe just nodding, and she's sitting there in his car. And then as they're driving down Archer Avenue, she says suddenly like, stop, stop. And so he stops the car. And she says, this is where I have to go. So I don't know what was around the area at the time. It couldn't have been much, but the cemetery was there. And he looks at her confused and he's like, here? There's nothing here. But she had gotten out of the car at this point and she started walking towards the cemetery. And he sees her walking up to the gate, and then he lost sight of her. So she disappears and he doesn't know what to do. So he goes home. But the next morning, he's still thinking about her and he's still wondering, like, why did she want to get out at the cemetery? I hope she made it home okay. So what he decides to do is go to the address that she had given him on Damon Avenue, and he finds the house. He walks up the steps. He rings the doorbell. This older lady comes out and he says to her, hi, ma'am, my name's Jerry and I was with, Mary. She gave me this address here. I dropped her off at the cemetery. I just was really worried and I was wondering if she made it home okay. And then the lady just kind of looks at him and she says, that's impossible because my daughter Mary died 5 years ago. But sure enough, when the man was kind of looking around like this has to be like a joke or something, but he saw the picture of the girl on a frame by the door. And he says, no, that was her. That was her. And she says, yes, that's my daughter. She's dead. That was the most famous story. After that, there had been other stories. Another one was a cab driver. And this happened in 1979. So a cab driver, this was, I guess, the year that there was a really, really heavy snowstorm in Chicago and we had tons of snow on the streets. And he was out driving, picking people up. And I guess he had gone into this area dropped someone off. He had gone into the area and he was like, I'm going home. There's way too much snow. I need to go home. But he was kind of not familiar with the area. So he was hoping that he could find someone to give him directions. So what happens was that, he notices a girl walking down the street. Mind you, there's a lot of snow and ice. And he says she's in a white dress and like heels, and it just looks like she's not in the right place. So he pulls over and he asks her, hey, are you okay? Do you need a ride? And so she says, sure. And she gets into the back seat of the cab. And then he tells her, hey, can you give me directions? I'm kind of lost out here. I just need to go home. But where do you need to go? And I can kind of take you if you tell me which way I can go. And she says, yeah, no problem. And she says to him, can you drive down Archer Avenue? So there he goes, taking her down. And same thing, suddenly she says, stop. And it's right by the cemetery. And she says, this is my stop. This is where I have to go. And so he's confused, and he starts to turn around and tell her, hey, I can't leave you here. It's just, there's nothing here. There's just a cemetery. And as he turns around to tell her, she's gone. He was really afraid by her sudden disappearance, especially because he hear the door open. There's no way she could have gotten out of the car, but she was just gone. Another story goes that in 1989, and this was actually the last big story I think that I've heard. There were a bunch of little ones, but there was a lady named Janet Kalel who was out with her friend. They drive by Resurrection Cemetery and they see a woman in white just jump in front of their car, and she didn't have time to stop, and they braced for impact and nothing happened. So no impact, no sound except for them screaming. And they got out of the car and looked around expecting to see a woman on the floor, and there was nothing. So there were several of those type of stories where people saw the woman, try to pull over or try to look for her, but she didn't talk to them and didn't say anything. It's a very, very popular story. And here in Chicago, there's also a bar. It's called Chet's Bar. And apparently it's right across the street from the cemetery. So if there's any tourists that want to come to Chicago and check this out, you can go to this bar. And they know the story so well, and they're so familiar with this ghost that what they do is they pour a drink for her. They have a drink at the bar waiting for her every Sunday night. And the drink that they leave is called, guess what? A Bloody Mary.
Nice.
And that's her story.
Yeah, that's cool. But wow, that is so interesting. And this reminds me because when I was a teenager, I watched Supernatural. I don't know if you watched
Oh, yeah.
that show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of the first stories, they have this woman that is waiting by a road in a white dress, wanting people to pick her up, especially men that is driving by. But I think the story goes that they drive her home and then she disappears. But outside, it's like a white house, and she was married and had 2 children. So the thing was that I don't know if she killed her 2 babies or something, and then her husband killed her, and that's why, I don't know, something around that. But I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember
episode.
that, but it's this hitchhiking story, or this woman that's out, in the street. That story has different variations, I think, and it's very popular. Because what you described just reminded me of a story that I wanted to tell for the next one, maybe, or the one after that we're gonna do.
Interesting.
Yes, it's the twist on this is that it's very famous folklore in Mexico is known as La Llorona, and meaning kind of like the one that cries out, because it's the same. It's exactly what you're describing. It's a woman who, out of desperation, kills her 2 children, and then I think kills herself or drowns herself or something. I'm gonna look it up just to make sure I get the details right. But she's seen around like screaming for her children. She's looking for her kids. So, and people are terrified. It's like, oh my God, if you see this woman, if you hear her, something bad's going to happen. So it's very famous. But I'm guessing that, like with all the stories, like there's some variation of it in different places, or like it's interesting that you were talking about it for the show. And I wonder if the show got like a combination of stories and made up,
I think they used like different lores or different stories and then put a twist on it or make it probably more like extreme.
Yes. Yeah, and putting their twist on it.
Yeah. In the show too, I think she would take the driver home to her, disappear, and their head will explode or something. I don't know.
Man, that's
Yeah.
not nice. There's a. Do you remember? I don't know if in Norway they ever had the show called Unsolved Mysteries. Does that sound familiar to
Maybe.
you? It's a
Yeah,
very,
I
very
think.
old show. And it was this older guy in a trench coat, and they would talk about like all these stories, paranormal or just like strange UFO, that kind of thing. And then one of the shows they did have the Resurrection Mary story on it. That's how popular it was that even that show had picked it up. But it's pretty cool. If you guys ever see reruns of Unsolved Mysteries and you want to catch that, that's pretty. You'll see it there.
It
They
is
have
on
a lot.
Netflix. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I seen it, but I remember vaguely when I was a kid. There was something in the U.S. about the Batman, or that a human-sized bat or something, or like killing people and living up in the trees and stuff like that. And you can see that this person was like flying around because they got the wings of the bat, but it was like maybe bigger than a human too. I don't know where that story is from, but I remember I watched it on TV and I'm like, oh my god, wow.
I heard of the Mothman, the Mothman
Oh,
prophecies or
maybe
something
it's this
like
is.
that. Yeah. There was a really creepy movie about the Mothman.
Oh,
It's old. It's an old movie, but it was really creepy because it was based on like a real event, I think.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Or
should take that.
it was like what happened was there was a disaster. I want to say it was in Ohio. I might be wrong. And there was a bridge that collapsed and it killed a lot of people. But they were saying that there were sightings of the Mothman like days before.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Or that the Mothman would predict what was going to happen, but it was usually like a disaster. But they made a whole movie around it, so pretty scary. It's creepy.
Maybe I don't watch it.
Maybe you don't want to watch it,
Mm.
or you
But
watch
for
it
all of you, huh?
watch it very early in the day when someone with
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But all of for the people that is listening that has the courage, I guess, to watch it. Maybe that is something you can watch later.
Well, it's fun for Halloween. That's the thing. You want to get a little bit spooked, not too much,
Yeah.
just a little. All right. Well, that's all we have for today, and the next
Yeah.
time we'll have more ghost stories.
If you like the spooky series, please give us a follow and check out our website visionofprofoundhealing.com.